bit more from him. At the moment, he's been a bit stifled because they have been going against some of the top teams in the recent weeks. But yeah, you're completely right. I think Young Savage definitely a standout on this team. He's a very aggressive Lucio, plays like Cruz in the Overwatch League, where he goes for these very aggressive boops. But if you can shut him down, then it effectively stops that kind of contestation from going through. Both teams are pulling out the Mei. We know that they like to do this on Village in particular because you can do that.
And isolate the team, but there's a nice reaction coming out from Yona here to stem the flow. Zix already picked up that first kill. If you're young and beautiful, you're in a very dangerous position. You're going to have to pull something magical out here to get this first take. As OnePoint just chasing them around the point to get these kills and shut them down from taking this first point.
Yeah, and it's weird. Well, yesterday we saw both Meis come out this map, and it wasn't super proactive, but Tech36, he almost drops down the wall instantly, and that kind of secures in the point. It's just cleanup right now. They do manage to find a pick onto Chubb, so we'll have to walk back to the point, which means perhaps OnePoint have to play a little bit more defensive whilst he gets back, but I think there'll be ample time there available to him. Major thing we got to look out for is that Tech36 is basically doubling the ult charge of Jonah right now, which means he's going to have that Blizzard online. And with no Diva on the side of Young and Beautiful, it means it can come through pretty easily. There's nothing to eat it.
Tech chose poorly on the avenue of ingress for Young and Beautiful, so you're going to have to reposition. They've moved on to the point. Walls are just separating everything. It's possible to get some free movement here. Danny's going to end up offing himself with probably that right-click damage coming out from the Zarya.
Oh, what
going to move Chubbs outside of the point, then wall him off, keep him away from the fight. Transcendence is in there for OnePoint to keep him all up, and Tech36 now has that Blizzard online, but the Shadow's going to come through from Chubbs first. Zix getting close to the Graviton. OnePoint are taking control of the point, and they've got ults in the bag to keep it that way.
It's good from Scaler. He does get a lot of value out of these Transcendents where he pulls them out. Sees that, like you said, Danny managed to take himself out of a mortar because a wall was a little bit too close to the face there. So you can invest the Transcendents that fight, use that tempo to win it afterwards. It will mean that Young and Beautiful Commander's next point are pretty much favored to win. They have 6 ultimates online. OnePoint, they're probably just going to play here for percentage. But Tech360 does have a Blizzard, and that can shut down a lot of things very quickly if they don't get the Transcendence.
They're trying to stall. They might have done the wrong thing there by dropping the wall down early. Blizzard, Transcendence is there. Chubbs will burn through that anyway with a Flame Strike on the Cran Drop. And they're all sat there frozen. They're both Blizzards being traded. There's not much going on here. Just cool it down a little bit. Slow down the tempo as the clash continues on the point. And like you said, Blank, Young and Beautiful coming out ahead in this one. Starting to get the kills under the board. And OnePoint are squeezing out every last drop of percentage before they give up the control that they're surely going to have to do.
Cran Drop has to get back in, though. That's the first place. The moment OnePoint just splitting him off perfectly. Flip's not come through yet. There it is. Wall comes up, but currently OnePoint is still staying stalwart on the point, and Chubbs picks up Cran Drop.
Again, with the Flame Strike, just able to weave it behind his shield. Obviously, it passes through there. You can't block it out. Huge shadow in front of them. The only person left standing was Mr. Flippy, who had a shield of his own. They only let him get 17%, not even that, 16% on the board, Blank, before they flipped it back in their control.
It's just incessant from OnePoint there. I liked in the middle of that fight, we got both Blizzards came out. I felt like I was watching JoJo again. We stopped time for a short amount of time. But there we go, we hit 99%. And it feels like this is just going to go straight over to OnePoint here. No one can contest. And I think a lot of that comes down to just this this aggression into backing up into a good disengage from OnePoint where they wait it out. They know Zix at 100 charge. Let's just keep him alive in that moment. Crandop still has to get to the team. We can split him off. And they just grind it out, find some ultimates of their own, and then retake once the flip comes through. So very well played to OnePoint. They had great understanding of their win condition there. We come over, however, now to Shrine, which is another very much free map. We're probably not going to see the Winston unless one of these teams decides to go heavy DPS, but we have seen throughout the entire season both these teams are very reliant on free.
And a lot of the teams have, in general, just in this season. You know,
Hurricane, though.
Hurricane have some flexibility. I think
magic.
all the teams have those niche maps they're able to pull something special out on. I don't think Shrine, like you said, is one of them. I think it's obviously going to be one of the more free flavored ones. As Grandrop takes the early position, and the rest of OnePoint are just going to be weaving around the point. They might clash a couple of times, but they're just playing around the passive cover for now.
Yeah, there's a lot of corners, especially on Chubbs. Tries to charge on the wall, takes a lot of damage there, and the heat is too much for him.
Crandrop just being removed nice and early. DMET coming out on the scaler as well. Very slow, very controlled. OnePoint going to get that first cap.
And one thing I'd like to talk about here is Polly's play on the Brigitte. Now, watching back a lot of his games throughout the rest of the season, you start to see more and more. This guy is pretty phenomenal with the bashes, with the way he plays, and I think that's something that Crandop has to be very much aware of, because he's going to get bopped around by like flail shot. He's also going to get bashed if he's not careful. So, and Tech 36, as we know, he's an excellent diva. So following upon those self-destructs, it's going to be something that Young and Beautiful, they have to be aware of.
They're going to aggress onto the point now, and obviously Scalar's still sitting on the back line, trying desperately to keep Chubbs up. He's on the brink of death. He doesn't get an armor pack in there to give him that burst healing. Thankfully, donated by Polly, who you've mentioned has been so stellar so far, but Scalar's got that Transcendence ready to go. A lot of critical HP bars, going to have to be forced out of the pocket. Not in time to save Chubbs, though. Young Savage picking up the kill. Transcendence will have some overlap with this Shatter being dropped down by Crandrop, and not many members of One.PoinT are going to go down, but there will be a DMech on Tech 36 as Crandrop and the rest of Young and Beautiful move in to take control of the point and deny One.PoinT any further. But like always, they're just trying to get that extra percentage out of the fight and make sure they push it even closer to that territory, as Crandrop's going to pick up some extra charge towards another Earth Shatter that was so pivotal in that last fight.
And it just seemed to me at the moment that Young and Beautiful are really struggling to clean up these fights, and I think that comes a lot down to Zik. Has a massive amount of pressure coming out from this Zarya so far, always massively charged. But we did see Scalar use his Transcendence towards the middle of that fight once Chubbs had gone down. Now, that could be seen as a mistake, but it did juice them for a lot of that percentage here. But it does give a free fight now to Young and Beautiful if they get a big Graviton through. Tech 36, however, he's a massive player on this diva, has eaten so many grabs this season.
Not going to eat any grabs, unfortunately. They're just going to be dropped right down in front of each other, have a bit of a staring contest for now. Transcendence obviously in favor of Mr. Honey, but Danny's going to pick up a double with the self-destruct. You can't heal through that, even if Scalar was to have his Transcendence online.
Quick getaway.
Retention of control still remaining for Young and Beautiful.
But what's great about this is that you force out 4 ultimates from Young and Beautiful when technically they really only need the grab there, and that all comes down to Zik. It's an excellently timed Graviton to prevent any follow-up, because he caught also Crandop in that. And that's the major damage source you need, that 75 damage cleave swinging into the Graviton that without Transcendence you really can't keep up with. So it's wonderful there to force out more ultimates than they actually need, which makes this more of an even fight for One.PoinT coming into this next one.
Chubbs looking to drop the Hammer of God on Young and Beautiful and shut them down entirely. Goes for the back line, tries to go for the bumper play. Tech 36 will still pick up Huni on the back line with the self-destruct. Shadow being used for naught as Crandrop builds towards another one himself, but the Transcendence is being traded by Scalar. Gets that online, couldn't do it last fight, as Polly also follows up with the budget Transcendence in the form of the rally to give everyone an extra armor pack. And they're keeping the rest of Young and Beautiful off of the point as they maintain control. Get that D-Mech onto Danny and take care of him afterwards. The bubble will delay the process, but it's still going to be the same result. Beautiful bit of damage coming out there from Zip with the right click onto Flippy as they burn through Young Savage as well. Flip coming in, 93%. One.PoinT cannot lose another fight on this round if they want to walk away with the 2-0.
It's so weird though as well, Tridd, because Scalar basically just doesn't use Transcendence for the grab at all. He uses it as a massive tempo ultimate. Now, a lot of pro players have said in the past that, you know what, tempo, Transcendence normally aren't the greatest thing, but the way One.PoinT is playing is that they deny a lot of the aggression when the grab does come out from Young and Beautiful, and a lot of times they actually trade up because of these aggressive Transcendence coming out from Scalar, and more often than not, he's already at 50% by the time the next fight comes through.
Graviton into an Earth Shadow, going to be blocked out by Bubbles and shielding from Chubbs. There's a grab coming out in return to lock up Zik. He's behind the shield. Shatter again, whiffed into the shield. They're just mirroring each other's plays here. There's a bit of shadow boxing happening. No one's really feeling the blows for now as they move on to the point. 99% in overtime. Self-destruct is there. Need to reposition that shield. Don't quite get the mobility there to expose the team to the explosion of Diva's self-destruct as Tech 36 is trying to work up to one of his own and play catch-up. Scalar, he's got that trans online. Doesn't have to worry about the Graviton surge. Huni, however, might have to worry about Zik. He's building them so fast in these fights. But Scalar pops it nice and early. There's the self-destruct from Tech. Earth Shadow comes down. Everyone's going to be fine for that one. Shielded out nicely. There's the grab coming out from Zik. Transcendence is not online. It's not available for Huni, and they're going to drop it down. Tech finds 2. The hammer from Chubbs sealed the deal. One.PoinT. Take Nepal 2-0.
Oh, it's a grand, big self-destruct towards the end of there. That was nice from Tech 36, and it comes down to just, again, this idea that Young and Beautiful just can't seem to clean up in fights that almost seemed won for them in the first place. They even had everything in the pocket there, ready to go forward onto it. They had both supportive ultimates. Scalar was on the back foot, desperately trying to get towards that Transcender. He was like, I need it now. But they had Transcendence. They also had Soundbite. I think the Transcendence that came out initially on the side of Young and Beautiful was good because it provided that extra 2 seconds of healing that at that moment Scalar had stopped in his Transcendence. And then they also had Young Savage's Soundbite. So the fact they weren't able to run them over after that is a little bit questionable.
Yeah, and like we said, it just exposed Zik to basically go, oh, cool, I'll be having that with the grab.
I'll have that now, yeah, go on.
I'll have that one. Shatter drops down as well. No one can move. Perfect bomb to seal the deal. Cherry on top, if you will.
Literally.
We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you map number 2. It's going to be Blizzard World. Hey everyone, welcome back to Overwatch Contenders. We got map number 2 coming up for you, Blizzard World, on your screen shortly. It is, of course, 1 in the lead against Young and Beautiful, and Nepal wasn't to be their map. A 2-0 going over to 1 Some fantastic play from Zik, who's charging, grabs fast, and I don't know what plan.
It's like a lightning rod, really.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy at times. But we do have 2 tickets for you guys to go to Blizzard World. I know there's a lot more of you that, but should do the trick. I'm telling. Maybe it's just for us too. That's the problem.
Maybe we get the fast passes.
Yeah,
we have to queue with the rest of them.
We get straight in. We get straight on all the rides. But yeah, it is Blizzard World now, and this is a map where we've seen a lot of DPS used, but like I said before, I think this is probably going to be more of a 3-3 versus 3-3 matchup, which is interesting at least because I do actually like the dynamics of that on point A, which is where before, really, you never really want to put your Rhine in a position where he get corralled into a corner and bashed, but on the corner of point A, where a lot of teams hold, a lot of times your Reinhardt will now back into that area because you can cover a lot of space with your shield, and with the recent patches, obviously you can no longer bash through the shield and get that shatter going. So it's a weird game of cat and mouse where the Reinhardt will try and keep himself out of harm's way and then come back out again.
So I'm just having flashbacks of when that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
You just see a Brig, Reinhardt's just panicking. They see a
rallying
Brig running at them. They're just like, no, please, bubble, 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 bubble.
It's on cooldown.
You know, if you get stunned, you knew if you got stunned, you just end up getting shattered immediately afterwards.
Yeah, a lot. It was literally like a trust fall into your Zarya a lot of times. It's like, I'm just going to trust you to bubble me, please. And then everyone has to stand in like a conga line behind me to ensure the shadow doesn't go through. But Young and Beautiful, we're not going to talk about too much what's going on over there because we're seeing a Genji and a Widowmaker.
On the main tank player.
That's illegal. We don't see that. 1.0, however, they're sat on the 3-3 and they're holding in that position that we were talking about earlier, Tridd.
Young and Beautiful going to be on the offense first, and they're going over to that GOATS composition as expected. The Young 3-3, Young Savage, obviously on that loose show, going to be amping people up as they move into this first engagement. And that corner being held over by 1Point, just looking for an avenue of attack for Young and Beautiful, because obviously they've got to aggress onto them, which is always puts them at a slight disadvantage whenever it comes onto any kind of strategy. But of course, they're going to be able to keep everyone up.
I do like the way Young and Savage is playing at the moment. He's trying to jump over this wall to boot the Reinhardt out into cover and into the open jaws of Young and Beautiful. For the time being, both bubbles come out from both teams. It's a bit of aggression coming out from Young and Beautiful, but look at Zik. He's such high charge, and now Young and Beautiful fairly split. This might be the time for 1Point to take an aggressive push onto them.
He needs to change that like reserve generator of just damage energy and convert that into ult charge. You know, he's got the potential, just needs to do that and then get that grab online nice and quickly. He's got a good 10% over Yona for the time being, but someone who's able to pump out ults very quickly is Aang, and they're going to use an aggressive beat from 1Point to go ahead and try and force back Young and Beautiful. They're happy to just move back, slow down the tempo a bit and come back, because they've got 3 ults of their own on the board, but Pony's going to go down, and Zik, obviously he's taking him out, he's removing the Transcendence, Self-Destruct won't find anyone. They're able to get around terrain and protect themselves with bubbles, like you said, Blank, and the rally's coming in from Polly. This is the re-engage, Graviton Surge committed by Yona, who actually beat Zik to the punch, but the Transcendence is finally there from Scalar to deny any hope of that one going through. Young and Beautiful are caught between the water, which is just an environmental, and these tight staircases. Young Savage,
he's out!
He's gone for a dip. I think that's a call. I think that's a call. I don't think that was accidental.
He was like, peace, I'm gone.
Just
see you
fade
later.
Attach a couple of cinder blocks to his feet and jump in the pool.
It's like a rock in a soft place. I think you take the water at that point. You're like,
refreshing.
Refresh, let's go again. But I think a lot of that. I think the sound barrier from Eng was actually fairly decent because it regained them a lot of the positioning that they lost. You saw how cramped they were against the back wall, and then a set of really lovely bubbles coming out from Zik, which is something that we have discussed about before. He's a little bit trigger happy with the bubbles, and it seems that this is a problem that's being addressed so far. But in the moment, Chubbs has that shatter. He's looking to lay it down, but he misses it just by a hair.
Everyone's like, you thought you got me, just going to hide behind cover. They emerge with a sound barrier. Crown Drop not going to miss his own shatter. Zik going down there, but he stays alive and gets the grab out as well. There's a self-destruct on top of him. They move him away. 3 kills coming in. 2 for Chubbs. Sorry, 1 for Chubbs, 2 for Tech. That's off the back of a fantastic boot coming in from Eng to make that happen. I believe it was actually the charge that probably got it. But we can still credit Eng. He's got a sound barrier and an environmental kill on Danny.
Yeah, we're gonna give Eng a lot of credit. I love the sound barrier from this guy. It's very aggressive. Regained a little position there, and then also the boops into the charge as well from Chubbs. Everyone just scattered everywhere. It was like throwing sand up into the air and
it's a cluster grenade.
Legitimately, and then you get the self-destruct thrown on top. So fairly nice combo there. Young and Beautiful over there coming with their grab bomb combo of their own. Let's see if they can successfully get it off. 1Point have a lot of support ultimates to deal with it though.
They emerge onto the point quite nicely. Unable to get the eat on the Graviton Surge. Tech going to be sucked back in. There's the self-destruct. They go for some repositioning. Cranop will get a charge and a D-Mech, but nothing else from that, as now he's caught in a corner of around 3 sound barriered members of the team. He will go down to Chubbs, just swinging through that hammer. Zik is alive, getting close to a grab of his own. Just needs to get that tracking a little bit more refined to catch the mobility of young Savage, who's hippity-hopping all over the place as they move back onto the point. And Danny, you can't defense matrix a laser beam, but Furious out the Graviton Surge. That's Chubbs moving forward, goes for the charge to isolate him out of Transcendence. Thankfully, Honey is able to get that all over the point as Flippy picks up 2 kills, and this is going to be Young and Beautiful taking away point A and keeping them alive on Blizzard World.
So they're not full health, so it's a little bit of victory there, but you do only have 2 minutes 20 now to push the point. So they're going to try and get a lot of aggression in early, try and pick up any stragglers, but no one's waiting around the corner. One thing I really did like, I want to note, is that Zik during that fight, despite them having so many members down, was waiting on that projected bubbles for so long, and that is for the exact moment when he does get that grab off, he can projected bubble Chubbs, knowing there's no Transcendence, so he can walk into it.
Not able to walk anywhere for now, time being. Locked up by a Graviton Surge. Yona putting it out there and then following up with a kill onto Zik. So early choke, not coming in for 1 point. It's going to payload's going to move down and start giving some progress on the board. And we've already noted they had 2 minutes 30 to do this section. That time bank is so vital to them if they want to progress even further. Yeah,
and it's looking smaller and smaller right now. You only got 2 fights remaining because now both teams are kind of equal when it comes to ultimates. Really, both teams, they have the rally, so it's up to whoever wants to take the initiative first. You might get a good counter-engage from Young and Beautiful, depending on how Young Savage decides to make this play.
There's that self-destruct. Everyone's nice and safe, though. They're going to take over behind the rocks. Their beat coming out, Chubbs needs to get some shielding of his own. Crandop's going to capitalize on it and just smack him to Chinatown as he just gets knocked over there. Don't know why it's a Chinatown there. Vague location, but Young and Beautiful just going to be able to go ahead and take this one. Keep on trucking. 1 minute remaining and not very far to go. They are going to have to run into an absolute tsunami of ultimates from 1 point, though.
That is true. 5 ultimates remaining. And I like the way they played this is because they take 2 very aggressive holes, don't use too many ultimates. Now they just have to touch the point. There has been troubles with that before, but Tech 36, finally, he wakes up.
So that might have been the win condition there. Chat is coming out in return. Chubbs lands one blow for blow against Crandrop. And with Jonah's grab being taken away by Tech 36, there's not really an entry back into this one. 35 seconds remaining, 1 final fight, and you've got to do it with a Transcendence and a rally.
It's a little bit shaky, but 1 point just basically used Chubbs as a bowling ball. They just chuck him out, and it's a strike. Yeah. Nice and easy. Young Beautiful all fall to the ground. Now, they have Rally coming to this next one. They also have a Transcendence, but they're more than likely going to have to hold onto both of those just for the re-engage as soon as this Graviton comes through. But they can lock them all up early. And remember, there's only 15 seconds remaining.
Danny gets the return in there onto Zik, so he shuts down the grab. What about the self-destruct, though? It's going over the top. Shield there to block it out. Eng gets the environmental onto Yona, so he's not going to be there for them. Transcendence being used by Scalar to go onto the back end, but Tech taking out Crandrop. Chubbs following up onto Hooney after that Transcendence ends, and Yona's now switching over to Tracer just to make it there in time as Polly's going to take out Danny. Self-destruct on the point will still find Scalar. He should have been able to take cover from that one. He had plenty of time. But Flippy, he can't do a 360 shield job, so he's always exposed to someone. They're going to flank, take him out. Overtime's ticking down. They're going to try as they may to get away with this one, but it's not going to be so. Young and Beautiful fall short at checkpoint B.
Such a sad moment as well. I mean, this is pretty much just cleanup now for 1 point. Chubbs, as it has another shatter, going to use it now. Ends the push of Young and Beautiful, slowly but surely. Major thing that I wanted to point out was that Polly got a bash onto. It was over on the other side. Flippy got a bash onto Chubbs in the middle of that fight as the self-destruct was going on. And remember, it was only the barrier from Chubbs there defending everyone else because Zik was down, there's no available bubbles, and Flippy hits the bash just a fraction too early, and Chubbs is able to pull up the shield again. Oh, it's very unfortunate. I could have gone. There is a world there where actually Young and Beautiful do complete point B if Flippy actually managed to make that bash go through.
Also on top of that, after I called it, I was looking at Crandop. I was like, oh, he's got a shatter. This could be bad. And like pulling my collar a bit, like starting to sweat. But I just made a mistake, and then I left it quiet. I knew Chubbs had the shatter there. I was like, Chubbs has been doing pretty good. It's a safe bet to say he's going to land that next shatter and save everyone.
Chubbs has been relatively reliant. Like the majority of the time for One.PoinT. He's very reliable main tank so far. I think he had some questions coming into it as he joined the team, but he has just gone from strength to strength, and I think that's credit to Colsey, who used to be a main tank, who has now gone coach, giving this lad a lot of good teachings. You've seen him improve throughout the weeks. So Young and Beautiful, they don't get full held, which is a big plus in my opinion.
Yeah.
So really though, here they have to go for something similar, relatively like a 3 to 4 minute hold on point A, if they want to hold them on point B, because point B for Blizzard World has always been historically one of the faster points to take.
Yeah, if they can catch them off guard, they might be able to get away with something here. And One.PoinT are rolling out with something quite interesting, maybe looking for some early picks, but I can imagine they're going to go back to the original plan, which is the 3-3. So Chubb's going to go onto that Reinhardt, Zik back onto the Zarya. You're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, and that's slowly what it's becoming when we look at the GOATS meta.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the maps where you really do have to scout out, because it's such a long walk to point. So if you get to the point and suddenly they're playing something a little bit wacky and you have to switch up, you've wasted around 30 seconds. You quickly jump up with the Widowmaker, the Sombra, you know exactly what's going down, and you can be prepared for it. One.PoinT, they're taking a couple of rotations, but currently they have Tech 36 on the side, going to go contest that high ground.
People are already using those bubble rotations on Young and Beautiful to keep everyone up. And I feel like Young and Beautiful weren't as forward-facing as One.PoinT were when it came to the defense here. And Crandop going down low. Tech 36 has already found Huni, though. 60% on the ult charge. Not going to get any higher on this one, as now there's a D-Mech onto Danny. He's isolated by the right side. A right click should do the job. He tries to yeet another one onto the point. You've got to deal with Young Savage, though. He's just going to be an absolute nuisance. The pin cancelled out nicely as Tech comes in to save from Crandop's destructive anger. That's going to be a very fast point A take for One.PoinT.
Yeah, and now regardless of the situation, Young and Beautiful, you've got 5 minutes to hold on. One.PoinT, they've already shown us that they have a lot of patience when it comes to playing this type of game. They will just wait for the 6 ultimates and see what they can do to force it out. But here, I genuinely think, unless Young and Beautiful take a very aggressive hold here on the choke, then One.PoinT can pretty much just snowball this. And Young and Beautiful understand that. They have to move forward. Some of these ults have to be forced out from One.PoinT.
Chubb's had great shadows this game, looking for another one, 2% away from it. Polly's already found Yona, no protective barriers for the rest of the Young and Beautiful, so if the shield goes down, it's all over. And Zik, Chubbs, and Tech, they're not even going to have to commit the ultimates there. Self-destruct will, of course, take him out on the back line, but that momentum, that snowball you mentioned, is starting very slowly, and it's going down that mountain quite fast.
Yeah, it's creeping in, and they only use 2 ultimates for that, the rally and the bomb, so very smart usage in my opinion there. You don't use some of your big ultimates like the Graviton, which is one of those ultimates that can force out so many things from Young and Beautiful. And I think One.PoinT understand that. They know they have to wait for Jonah to get his own Graviton online and potentially go for another one of these great Zik counter grabs, which prevents the aggression, forces out more.
Might just grab them here in this next fight. They need to keep Tech up, though. He's had a D-Mech come in, not the most ideal situation, and you're going to have to do it manually. He didn't have that self-destruct online to be able to get that immediate remech, and One.PoinT know this. They're backing off. They don't want to give up anything. They have to leave the payload. They're going to have to come back when they got the jumper cables to get it back in motion. Zik already being taken out, though. Happy to go down with that Graviton surge. They started with 5 minutes. They've still got 4 on the clock, so patience.
Patience is key. I think the most unfortunate thing about that is that Zik doesn't get any speed boost from Eng there towards the end to escort him out. He had 100 charge, so he was pretty highly charged, and having that come into the next fight is pretty essential, especially when Jonah is only 2 bubbles away from max charge right now.
Better make him some really good bubbles then if he wants to get that one. Chubb's rotating around to the point.
Oh,
Tech
my Lord.
goes in with the Yona E. That's a crucial ultimate there. They're going to have to do it with the self-destruct and the Earth Shatter. One.PoinT, they still have their combo online. They don't have to self-destruct, but a Graviton Surge from Zik. We've seen Danny eat these ones before. It could be pivotal for them. Shadow's going to find model members at one point. And of course, Chubbs just has to drop the hammer himself. As the Transcendence being traded, as well as the beat from Young and Beautiful. Eng's already dropped that one down for the side of One.PoinT. And they got the grab online from Zik with no supportive ultimates from Young and Beautiful. So they throw in the self-destruct to find something. Zik will go down, but he donated the grab. No one else from One.PoinT was able to move forward and capitalize off of his parting gift, what was written into his will. No one was able to pull that one out. The rest of One.PoinT are going to have to reset here because they can't compete with that spawn attrition. Standout
play from Danny there. You were talking about him earlier, and rightfully so. That Diva Bomb absolutely prevents any aggression for the rest of Young and Beautiful, rest of One.PoinT, sorry, because as soon as Zik goes down, there's no bubbles to allow you to walk forward and just tank the self-destruct as it comes out. So 1Point now, they're running with that rally and the bomb, but that's what won them the first fight. Let's remember that. A really great boot once again from Young Savage, drops him off the high ground, gives advantage once again over to Young and Beautiful.
Shadows with the payload will only catch Danny on the side as the shield comes up from ground up to stop everything else from going all wrong. You need to get Chumps back into this high health position and start catching up, because Panda's going to drop a hammer of his own shortly. Yona has a Graviton Surge online. Tech cannot get away with the eat on this one. Young and Beautiful might be able to shut down another push of 1Point, because they have the ult advantage for the time being, but Tech36 doesn't want to go for that self-destruct. He knows he has to have the DM up to try and counter this one. But they're just static at the moment. Nothing being done on the side of 1Point, and more of their time bank is burning. They look to retake the high ground for the next fight.
Yeah, Young and Beautiful just been finding so much more value out of their ultimates, and Young Savage doing such a good job to actually remove a lot of the rotations that 1Point have been trying to take to get into a good position. You can tell that he's going to go for another one right now. Needs to remove Zik from that high ground, but they will just opt to drop down, stay underneath this bridge a little bit more safe. But Young and Beautiful, look how many ults they're running with. 1Point desperately trying to find themselves in a good position.
Shadow Dam will interrupt the combination. They go for the charge to try and give it a Tech36. Self-destruct. Going to be thrown in. Transcendence is there. Everyone's blocked up. Everyone's safe. Zik gets a melee kill onto Flippy. Danny's about to get demec, but he's able to get back in there. Self-destruct comes in. Sorry, no, the Graviton Surge will. They're not going to throw anything else in, but the damage is there quite handedly by 1Point to get this done. Even throw in a shatter for good measure, just to make sure it's the one and done payload. Couple of meters away from the location, just going to be walked in. 1Point going to the half, 2-0.
And let's just go back to the first attack, where if Flippy hits that bash, we could have seen a massively different story here, especially with such a 4-minute hold on point B. It's relatively unheard of, especially there. You have such a long time bank. I think it could have gone poorly for 1Point in that situation, and Beautiful seemed to have raised their game there.
They did a fantastic job of burning through that time bank that 1Point were emerging onto point B with a lot of good solid defenses there, and they were actually playing a lot more collected with their ultimates. I didn't see much wastage coming in there from Young and Beautiful towards the end in particular. Let's have a look at a few highlights from the first half. We did have a very quick edition of Nepal. It's a 2-0 in favor of 1Point, and both of them running out May on the village.
Yeah, the May on the village worked out really well, but I think that Tech36 did get the advantage there a lot of times, just because when you did see Danny go for a lot of these big May walls, Tech36 was right in there with another May wall on top behind it to cut off the team after they thought, you know what, we can go aggressive here. So Tech36 obviously has a great understanding of the May. We saw him play on May, on Hanamura one time as well as, and when he played that excellently, we were like, oh, he can play this just as well as his Diva. But again, it seems to be a running theme that a lot of these last fights where maybe Young and Beautiful up a couple of members, 1Point is still able to make a do and win those fights out.
And of course, it's Blizzard World. Lots of ults being traded on this one. Even Scalar going over to the Tracer here. This is just an attempt to shut down the offensive, obviously coming out from the opposing team. And Zik, he's been one of my stand-up players so far. Charges, grabs like a madman, gets them out, barely has any of them eaten. And on the flip side of that, Tech36 is something that he was known for in Contenders Season 3 2018, was his just ult consumption when it comes down to playing this Diva. And he's carried on more of the same into this season, despite people having knowledge of going, should probably keep an eye on keep an eye on Tech. He's one person that's a very hungry boy. And we're going to take a quick break, so go grab some snacks, feed that hunger of yourself, and come back here ready for our third map.